at the edge of a universe humming a tune. For merely dreaming we were snow. A siren sounds like the goddess who promises endless apologies of paradise. And only she can make it right. So things are different tonight. We'll go together in flight.
Hello, everybody. I am here to ask and answer one simple question. What even is Abiotic Factor? Abiotic Factor launched onto Steam into early access in May 2nd of 2024, I believe, and it hit full release in 2025 of July 22nd. This is a very fun little game. I've had a little bit of time with it, and I wanted to come and show it to the world and give you guys a little bit of insight if you've been curious about the game and curious if it's worth your money. It is a co-op survival game with a little bit of horror elements, a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of everything for everybody, honestly. I would say the best way to describe this game is a mishmash of, like, imagine SCP meets, I almost want to say Half-Life, basically. It's like SCP and Half-Life come together to make this wonderful amalgamation of terror, fun, goofy, just sci-fi beauty. Let's start off by showing you guys what's in store for the settings. It's honestly an incredible settings menu and everything like that. It has everything you could hope for in terms of customization, as well as what you need to, like, if you want to change anything and everything, including a very rare thing of controller customizations for, like, things like stick drift, dead zones. Like, you can, like, help with, like auto aims, as well as, like, if you need, like, to adjust, like, for whatever reason, you know, there is tons of customization in the game. Wonderful audio settings. You can rebind, of course, all of your controls, everything like that. You can accessibility, if anything you need, there's plenty of it, and they have a little bit for quite literally everybody to make sure that no matter what, you can enjoy the game no matter what. There's also a wonderful graphics settings. As you can see, let me move myself out the way a little bit. As you can see here, there's low, medium, high, epic. I'm not entirely sure how much more epic cranks everything up, but I will say the game is not an incredibly, like, visually intensive game, but there is a lot of stuff in the game and a lot of, like, things, so playing with your settings might be a good idea before you go in if you are on a lower end computer, and I would say to give that a check before you start getting in, because some of the later areas can be very, very, like, tough on lower end computers. Outside of that, you have your audio settings. There is plenty of audio for everything, as well as 3D mono. You can have the random world sounds. This is a very, very nice setting in case you don't like just hearing random sounds off in the distance that have no impact on, like, what is happening to you or what is happening to, like, your base, yourself, like, all that kind of stuff. You can also completely change and adjust audio for stuff like this, like if you don't want to hear breathing, humming, high pitch, like, all that kind of stuff. Wonderful settings. I think the devs have done an excellent job making sure that anybody can play this game no matter what kind of computer they're running, no matter what they might be feeling, and, like, taking into account to people's, like, different kinds of sensitivities when it comes to, like, audio, visuals, etc. So I think they've done a wonderful job with that. Now getting into the funner parts of the game. All right, now I'm going to quickly show you guys the character customization. There's not a whole lot to it. It is a very simplistic character customizer, but in my opinion, I think it serves its purpose, and you can make a lot of unique scientists and kind of get your own little OC character going on. There's plenty of character customization options to make a bunch of different unique characters, bunch of different skin colors, as well as face shapes, head shapes, and stuff like that. I would recommend going through and making yourself your own little scientist. There's plenty of hairs, a lot of options. There's not a ton. I will say I wish there was a little more to this. As you play through the game, you will unlock some customizations and some special unique outfits and stuff like that. However, that being said, I think this is one of the game's weaker points in terms of the base character customization. I would recommend just playing with a little bit till you get yourself a character. All right, now that I've showed you guys the character customization as well as the settings, let us actually enter the facility and show you how the game works and what is in store for you. When you go in, there will be load, start, and join server. Loading the game obviously loads save files from previous worlds. You can start a new world at any point, and you can join servers. When you start a new game, you have the option to name it, change difficulty, as well as enable hardcore settings, single player, multiplayer, whatever you're looking to do. There are also advanced options to modify the actual sandbox in the world itself, including upping resource spawns, increasing how long it takes for your various bars and meters and stuff like that to lower, deplenish, refill, etc. I would personally recommend you take a look at this. If there is stuff in survival games that you really do not like, give it a look. It will help you kind of fine-tune the experience to be what you want it to be. That being said, in my personal opinion, I think you should give the game a go for a little bit as it was intended and by its default settings, because I think the devs have done a wonderful job of making the game feel fair and just sort of like very well tuned. That being said, change whatever you want to change, adjust it to your personal preferences. After you do all of that, let's name the world Bubba. After you do all of that, you enter into the game, and upon loading into a new world, either one that you've just made or a friend's world, you have the option of character creation. And this works very similar to games like Zomboid. You have a set number of characters that have starting stats, starting perks, and things of that nature. I personally would recommend taking a look through all of these, kind of get a guesstimate of what you would want to be doing in the game and get an idea of what you want. After that, you go through, you have a few extra points based on which character you chose that you can then use to pick extra perks, as well as kind of make the game harder, difficult, and just kind of like round it out to what you want to be doing in the game. In my opinion, I think the fanny pack is always an amazing perk to take. Those extra couple of health, like item bar slots, they really do a wonderful job. And some of these actually will do a little bit of a visual change to your character as well, just to let you know. For instance, the fanny pack, your character will actually be wearing a fanny pack on the model for your playthrough. So it's just kind of a fun little thing. Now, all that being said, let's actually get into the game itself. All right, I'm going to be loading into a world that I've previously made and been playing on. I've only played on this a little bit, as the game has a very wonderfully written and well done story with a lot of little surprises, a lot of little fun that I do not wish to spoil for any of you, and I think you should check it out yourself. Now, the game has a couple different systems in it that I think are very unique and make the game that little extra bit more compelling and interesting. The first of which will be your crafting system, as well as the system that lets you actually craft new items as you find new resources, and that is the brainstorming system. The way this works is as you find new resources, find new items, you get the ability to come up with a blueprint. You do not actually need to find any blueprints. You do not need to find objects in the world to be able to craft them. You just need to find the components for them. And some of these items you actually will find and come up with the blueprint before you find the component that you need, and you can then basically start scavenging the facility and looking and exploring to find this component to make this new object that you found. And it's a wonderful way of kind of encouraging you to explore and kind of like see where you haven't been. The way the system works is you get a crafting recipe, you have different materials, and you kind of have to guess what material plus what material equals the item that you're trying to make. So for the makeshift backpack, it would be cloth and then the metal rods, and I get the ability to make backpacks now, and I can craft it and then put it onto my actual character. And that, of course, as it is a backpack, gives me extra carrying space. It adds a little thing to my character, and it's just a fun little system, in my opinion. It's very compelling, and it encourages you to explore more and to kind of look where you haven't been to find objects that you're missing to make something that you want to make. Now, on top of that system, as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, my character has become a little bit tired. There are, I believe, 4 bars that you're going to need to manage in the game, and as I said, you can customize it in your world settings if there are certain things that you just don't want to deal with. There's hunger, health, and bladder, as well as exhaustion. I don't know if those are the official names for them, but those are what I call them. So obviously for hunger and thirst, you eat and drink to maintain those. However, you will need to make sure you are drinking clean water to up your thirst meter, and you will need to be making sure that you are drinking properly prepared food. There is a cooking system in the game. I would highly recommend looking into it and kind of playing with it, as you can make things as simple as just plopping some meat onto a little pan right here on the stove, cooking yourself up some food that way, or making stews that will give you benefits and sort of buffs. Some of those buffs and benefits actually will be incredibly important later on in the game, as well as make sure to keep your eye on what foods you're getting, because some foods have special effects to them. Now, for different meters, there are actually different mini games to make kind of keeping these meters topped off a lot more like compelling and a little bit less like cumbersome. For instance, the sleeping, if I want to sleep, I have lie down, you get a mini game. And in the mini game, I can choose to jump. Ooh, if I press the right buttons. In the mini game, I can choose to just kind of let it play and just go, and eventually my sleep meter will fill up on its own. But if I want to speed it up, I can engage with the mini game to jump over these little guys and make it go much faster and actually get up and sleep faster, as well as sometimes you can actually get benefits from doing the mini games. The same goes for the bladder control mini game, having to shit yourself. You can choose to engage with it and let it do its course, or as you can see, the bar ticks down on its own after a little while and you're done. But the little mini games are to make the stuff go faster and kind of make your life a lot easier. Now, there is plenty of combat in this game, as well as plenty of different weapons for you to use. Things from explosives, it's gonna go off. Oh yeah, it's gonna go off. So there's plenty of different weapons in the game, such as explosives. There are slashing weapons, blunt weapons, a little bit of something for everybody. There are bows, arrows, guns later on that you can get your hands on. I would recommend exploring what feels best to you and what you like and how you like to engage with enemies in combat in the game and kind of pick it up and dive into it. I will say the combat in the game is not exactly challenging by any means. It is fairly simplistic. It is a very like move out of the way, don't get hit by the enemy, thump the enemy, and you win type of combat. There are shields in the game that you can get later if you're doing melee that will help you a lot with dealing with projectile weapons, as well as just kind of keeping yourself safe from the claws of the enemies. But like I said, it's not incredibly difficult, and you can kind of play however you want to. You can also avoid combat entirely if you want to by simply just outrunning stuff and getting away from things. Yeah. Speaking of which, ho, my God, let's not be here. Yeah. But the only other system that you need to be paying attention to as you explore and go throughout the facility, ooh, he's still very upset with me, is making sure to gather as many resources as you can. Quite literally, everything that you see in the game is a resource. It is a crafting component, and it will be important to have on hand, and you never know when you might need something to craft something later on. There have been many times late in the game that I have come across a crafting recipe that is like, hey, you need this really basic crafting component from the start of the game that you haven't been picking up. So make sure to grab everything and kind of find a storage solution that works for you and collect everything. All that being said, that is Abiotic Factor, and I hope that I have answered any questions that you've had and curiosities, as well as showing off a little bit of the game to you. And I hope that I've made you interested in it, because in my opinion, I think this is a wonderful game. It has very clearly been made with a lot of love from the devs, and I think it is worth your time to check out. You can pick this up for $35 USD, or your local equivalent, and make sure to give it a check. I think it is worth your time. And yeah, go brainstorm some stuff, eggheads. That being said, I have been your host, Gertius Silich, and I hope I have answered any questions that you have about what even is Abiotic Factor. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you for the next review. Mwah! Bye-bye!